Welcome, time travelers! I tell you, Margaret, they really know how to edge over on the fringe. Hey, quit it.
What makes you assume that I'm not about to feed you all to the crocodile? What makes you assume that I'm not about to feed you all to the crocodile? What makes you assume that I'm not about to feed you all to the crocodile?
That's very exciting. Hello. I see the assassins have failed.
Did you get that on video?
No, I'm not.
No, that's I'll show you later.
Look, the gator obviously.
Send me that. 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 Hey, yo.
I just feel bad for this kid. My God, someone's just trying to get
Yes,
it's okay.
that.
It's a whisper in your ear, now listen here. Remember, embody, it's all so clear. No hidden strings, no puppeteer. We're by your side, have no fear. I cherish truth. I cherish truth. Remember, embody, there is no agency. We want what's best for you.
Hello and welcome to the LARP Gate Year 4 main event, multi-classing stream. I'm Griz. We have special guest Jacob Featherecci. Look, there he is. He'll be on later. We're going to have a nice fun stream today because, let's see, I like to deliver on the title and the thumbnail, and let's do that now. First, multi-classing. in role-playing games, if you start off as like a ranger or a wizard or something, and you're like, man, I really wish I had some fighter skills, bro, DM let me multi-class. He's like, okay, but you got to get experience points without using any of your abilities from the priesthood or whatever you were doing before until you get those skills up to the same level as your skills with the other thing, right? And then so you have to go through without using your skills, and that's the bullshit that's going to happen to me as a result of the year 4 fall inversion of the Larb Gate. And that's so. Before I stop using my skills, I thought it would be a great time for me to face off with the villain of and that's that guy Jacob Federacci, Mr. Fats, and he agreed to do with it because he didn't know any better, and so that's what's going to happen. That is the LARP Gate Year 4 main event you are here now watching, and it's almost as big as Theo Von and Trump, I think.
Remember, everybody,
there is no agency. We want
what's best.
Unfortunately, what the right thing to do for me is to give Mr. Fats the co-host powers so that he can do things like...
Oh, shoot, where was I going with this? Attention.
And that means we're going to have to send some emails back and forth, so...
Tell me that you've lived here your whole life. No, not yet. Are you married? No, no bad habit. No bad habit, eh? Well, what do you chew that tobacco for? For nothing. Nobody's fool enough to pay me for it. Well, tell me, how far is it to the next crossroads? Follow your nose and you'll come to it. Follow your nose, follow your nose and you'll
And so Defense Against the Dark Arts, like they've been mastering how to turn you into a mindless consumer that buys what they want you to for a long, long time. But if we come together and think together and sense make together, then they'll have to up their game even more. And like, so anybody who's steering the big eye is going to get all of that.
Yes, yeah.
If we can train each other to be the eye stalks and bring it together and cognitively process it before we feed it to him, it'll up his level like by magnitudes. And like everybody gets a little bit more above water if we work together that way. I say 12 monkeys, you'll probably have enough of everything to catch what Paul is looking for and the social clues, the stuff that like Gavin would be oblivious to.
How this could be used to allow people to connect and get past the status game. Beware of practicing your piety before men in order to be seen by them, for then you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven.
You know, I think Upcycle is one of the few people who's really taken advantage. Well, no, probably McMo too, of using the brandings to preach. to preach. You know that you're being subjected to mind control right now, and you should have a savings throw against it. Do you know what that is? Do you know how those work? Well, I'm sure Mr. Fats does by now. He'll tell you. Right, Jacob?
You pick one of the 5 dice. I do heart, whatever the other ones are. And then if he rolls a 20, you win. If he rolls a 1, you lose. If he rolls anything else, you just ignore
it. That sounds about right. Yeah. Okay. Now, officially, how it goes is more like you pick between survival, social, wisdom, or heart. And if I roll the die and it comes up over 10, you've made your savings throw and take half damage from the mind control that follows. If it's under 10, you take full damage. There's ways to get bonuses. They all help the channel. Isn't that weird? Survival, social, wisdom, or heart. Choose. It's one of the 4. You pick either survival, social, wisdom, or heart. Just choose in your head. You don't have to say it. They do because they get the bonus +2. Choose! Survival is with an 8 today for the LARP Gate main year event. You're going to need that +2 bonus from the Hive Mind chat. Socialist with the number of chakras. They are 7. We count in our system. There's others. Wisdom, folks. You're wise enough to be watching. That's 18 for you. You've made your savings throw. Heart, folks. Just 1 for each chamber. 1 for each chamber. We're going to get through to you, but remember, everybody, we want what's best for you. Indigo kids, pairing it up with that 8. There was an 8, right? Oh, dear. How's it going, Jacob?
Good. How are you, Grim?
Magic is why I brought you on. Because the J.K. Rowling version of this is really helpful for one angle. But if we can get the Magic the Gathering folks in on it, I think we'll do well. And the whole basis for the situation is control of people's minds. If I can get you believing it's okay to cut your kid's penis off, then it's like a necromantic wizard controlling you, right?
Okay. So I'll put it this way. Anybody who tells you think for yourself is not only lying to you, but programming you to be an idiot. You don't think for yourself. You think in community with other people. And so when other people around you are thinking stupid thoughts or being manipulated, you are as well. And it's really good to have what I call secured cognitive distributed cognition, which means people
use that line over.
It's really good to have secured distributed cognition. So that means having people you can actually trust to think well. And so it's not a necromancer.
Stop there.
Yeah.
The example of people you really trust to think well has been outsourced, and you've been convinced that those people appear on television through the power of sex.
You can't trust anybody who you have not actually sat down and had a hamburger with in Oklahoma.
Well, they don't have to come to Oklahoma. That's excessive. You're just shouting out the level of penetration into my trust network you've achieved because you're that way.
I achieved it deliberately by coming to Oklahoma because I wanted to know who this General Griswold Grimm of the what LARP order?
First, the acronym is FLIP, so it's First LARP Ingression Protocol.
First LARP Ingression Protocol. I see.
This is the first time I'm teaching people we can do an ingression through LARPing, and here's how we do it. It's the protocol. I mean, everything is right there for people with eyes to see.
You use so many neologisms. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Casino card of the show is the 4 of hearts. Mac jump with a roll. That's nice. now you since you did penetrate the trust network so much, you have foolishly trusted me, and before this stream began, I had you make a choice, and you have chosen the one with a lot of lines. So maybe grab yourself a drink of water. We're gonna be doing a skit coming up next, and it's gonna be fun for at least me and hopefully everybody.
This means that the individual's psyche is far from being safely synthesized. On the contrary, it threatens to fragment only too easily under the onslaught of unchecked emotions. While this situation is familiar to us from the studies of anthropologists, it is not so irrelevant to our own advanced civilization as it might seem. We too can become dissociated and lose our identity. We can be possessed and altered by moods or become unreasonable and unable to recall important facts about ourselves or others, so that people ask, "What the devil has gotten into you?" We talk about being able to control ourselves, but self-control is a rare and remarkable virtue. But so the intention is like this will be. I'll cut this part off and leave it as a video.
Okay. I think I should have probably been showing you your lines during that whole thing. You've chosen horse, which makes me the rabbit, and we'll be doing this after I give him a minute. Okay. All right. You're on.
Okay. Skin horse explaining what it
means. Just the words in bold, man.
Just the words.
Okay. And the ones that are assigned to the skin horse, whom you're reading, I'm going to be reading the lines of the rabbit at the appropriate portions. Right? And take one.
Real isn't how you are made. It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real.
Does it hurt?
Sometimes. When you are real, you don't mind being hurt.
Does it happen all at once, like being wound up, or bit by bit?
It doesn't happen all at once. You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily, or have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly except to people who don't understand.
Special thanks to the Shadow Cabal. So say we all. We all know that there is no agency any living gent can see doing what is right for me. Just lifting up my bro so he can grow some eyes to see that doing what is right for me increases all our agency. All right, Jacob. This whole you don't want to go with the Magic the Gathering, but I'm telling you, like people, it's the shadow. I've never seen such terror in a cat's eyes.
He is terrified, absolutely terrified.
Agency deck card of the show is the 7 of clubs. Speaking of which, I was wondering if I could call in a favor and have you work your way up the Teal network and get him to cut me a fat check.
If I could do that, I would get him to cut me a fat check.
Well, you gotta sell someone a product, and maybe I'm a more tantalizing one than you. If you can do it for me, then
Peter Thiel. Yeah. First of all, I have acquaintances who are friends of his. That's about it.
Well, if not his check, whose check should I go for? Because something terrible happened today, and it really prompted so much of this. So much of this is I went over to that X network, which frankly I had to pay the ransom in order to be able to stream there, and it felt dirt. That's 184 if anybody wants to click the link I didn't put in. But that son of a bitch, where are we at? It's gone now. Where's the ones I did already? You sorry son of a. Oh, I did it as a tweet. I tweeted that shit so I wouldn't lose it. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Here it is. As of my last update, Griz and the Lobster Monkey Army does not correspond to any widely recognized entity, organization, or event in the real world. And then they got the breakdown, but it said I don't exist, and now I'm having a super existential crisis.
Why do you care if you exist in the mind of a large language model?
Because that's what's going to be left of the history of humanity.
That's bullshit.
No? What do you think?
All that exists is that which exists in the mind of God.
Thank you for the nightmare. Nonetheless, I clearly need to register as what do they call it? More widely recognized entity or organization. And so I thought you could help facilitate that with your extensive networks of what do we call them? Little bird connections.
So part of the reason I have an extensive network is I work on the wow, that is a huge donation right there.
Woo! That's
almost
if
$500.
Be a target, that's the one to aim for.
That's almost $500.
I don't even know what that symbol means.
It's the euro. So what were we saying? So Peterson is correct when he says good people, when they make you an offer, it's an offer that's beneficial to you as well as to themselves. So, for example, there are people who have moved to Los Angeles, partially at my urging, but I would never, ever, ever urge anyone to move to Los Angeles if it wasn't best for them, in addition to actually being a really nice thing for me.
Wow. Have you surrounded yourself with the hive of Noahs?
No. Actually, there are 0 Noahides living in Los Angeles that I know of.
I knew it wasn't objective. I thought I'd check up on you. So you said you were watching me and Karen, yeah?
I was.
How far'd you get?
So I ended up skipping to the Department of Education part because
that's the gem in that son of a right. It's the acknowledgement of to everyone in the corner, at least, right, that we've been lost. They have had education since the 1980s.
They've had the education, I would say, probably even further than that, possibly. Yeah, the departments of education are complete indoctrination. Did you see my post from my textbook? So this week I started class again, and I am taking what's called a capstone class for my Master's of Social Work. And a capstone class is supposed to be something that that basically sums up the entirety of what you've learned. And
here are the key takeaways, boys and girls.
This is from my textbook for my capstone class for my Master's of Social Work.
Masters, he said.
Yes. Good policies can only, and notice they don't bother to define what good policies are.
Okay, how about I do it and you interrupt?
Go ahead.
Good policies can only be enacted if decision makers have commitment to enacting policies that improve the well-being.
Right?
Of vulnerable populations. Good policies can only be enacted if decision makers have commitment to enacting policies that improve the well-being of vulnerable populations. Policy advocates have had striking success. We've done great in American history in recent years, both in American history and in recent years, which are completely unrelated because the history happening now clearly is an American. The Democratic Party, which has been somewhat... This isn't a textbook, bro?
Textbook.
The Democratic Party, which is the best ever, has been somewhat more reformist than the Republican Party during and since the New Deal, and has often controlled one or both chambers of Congress as well as the presidency. Progressive governors and mayors have often been elected in state and local jurisdictions because Guns N' Roses fucking warned us. They put that little guy talking in the middle of their song. We practice selective annihilation of mayors and government officials, for example, to create a vacuum. Then we fill that vacuum. And surprisingly enough, Jacob, that leads us into the card of the show. Well, one of the card. We have two. There's two on the card. You guys remember when Google ate the Babel fish? You remember that, right? And you know what happened when they made the Tower of Babel last time? Oh, and the other card, gay Muslim tacticians. That's a fun one, isn't it? Oh dear. Let's play a thing.
The list?
Yes, any of the first level ones.
I'm gonna get a soda. Anyone want one? Hey, Graham, I'm not in the room, right?
What room? I want to cast magic missile.
The room where he's casting all these spells from.
He hasn't cast anything yet. I am, though, if you'd listen. I'm casting magic missile. Why are you casting magic missile? There's nothing to attack here. I'm attacking the darkness.
Oh, the structure of our world today is how me and Karen start this. That's a fascinating. I want to, did you skip the part then? When we talked about the search for the single artifact, where I go into the Abramovich part. I gotta bring that into the conversation. And if you missed it, let's see. You see, ladies and gentlemen, if you're enjoying on the YouTube browser something like this, if you've clicked that thing nobody ever does, the show more, you can find the transcript and then use the power of Control F to say Abramovich and find the spot you're looking for. Look, it's almost the 33rd minute. Go figure. In the bad field, you're usually looking for the nugget that will convince the people who can't see and give them eyes to see. And that's the mythological object that doesn't exist.
love that. That's so good.
I mean, I've spent a lot of time looking for it because, like, for example, when one such object, which should be an object as far as I can tell, is the we're having Abramovich build schools in Ukraine. Like, to me, that's like this magic nugget that should cure people of a certain blindness, and it does. And we know that certain blindness as the blindness of the Blue Church. The Blue Church. And the Blue Church card of the show is the Four of Hearts. And the delusion that it ever did would be a waste of my time.
Do you want to say more about that?
Well, she does this thing called, she's an artist who does this thing called spirit cooking.
Oh, that's where I've heard the name before.
And they're having her.
Who's having her build schools in Ukraine?
The people in charge of who's going to be building schools in Ukraine, apparently. And her and schools should be, like, as far as I can tell, that should be plenty for everybody that loves. And it should, but since you're a specialist in this, and after this, I will let you go. I know you're sacrificing your education in such esteemed institutions to be with us here today, and I appreciate that, Jacob. Actually, since you have the superpowers, can you go to the branding and down into the vidya clips? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, now find Darkness Long.
Darkness Long. You have so many video clips.
It's hard to do what I do, Jacob. It's hard to do, but it's all worth it for the TO. And as we're about to provide them one of those mythological nuggets at the end of time.
The list? Yes, any of the first level ones.
I'm gonna get a soda. Anyone want one? Hey, Graham, I'm not in the room, right?
What room? I want to cast Magic Missile.
The room where he's casting all these spells from.
He hasn't cast anything yet. I am, though, if you'd listen. I'm casting Magic Missile. Why are you casting Magic Missile? There's nothing to attack here. I'm attacking the darkness.
Now the one below it. Now the one below it. It's a 3-part sequence, bro.
Oh, in the branding. Darkness Long.
3-part sequence. And now for the mythological object that should shatter the minds of Blue Church people and bring them back into the awake wokeness we all know and love. You know about Bernays.
I do. I know a lot about Bernays.
20 seconds, go.
Edward Bernays is the person that all the propagandists blame for the work that they do.
And did you know that he has a nephew? Someone who grew up close to his Uncle Eddie and probably learned a whole lot from.
I mean, he kind of does, but honestly,
that kind of does, no, sir, because that's the nugget. It's the mythological nugget, sir.
Really is like Freud got more from Bernays than Bernays
got. No, sir, you're going in the wrong familiar time direction. Bernays has a nephew. Other way, Freud had a nephew named Bernays. Bernays has a nephew named I don't know what. But that's the nugget. You know why?
Why?
Because it's that mofo that runs Netflix.
That's not surprising.
But it should be enough for anybody who's still paying Netflix any money to realize what Netflix is.
See, this is the thing. You find causal correlations that I just don't think are that relevant.
You don't think it's relevant that the master of propaganda from all points and purposes, his nephew is now running Netflix, where that Netflix, after what Netflix did to the media scene in our youth?
Hey, this is the thing. Why would it matter if he's his nephew? Like, my nephew made the propaganda you were playing at the beginning of this. He like, what does that have to do with anything?
The apples don't fall far from the tree.
That's not true, though. Apples sometimes fall very far from the tree.
Sometimes. So we're going to make an exception because clearly there's no relation. All right, Jacob, go to school.
I don't look. Make relevant. Like, it is very relevant that people don't realize that they are allowing the television sets to program the morality of their children. But the relevance of that is not Edward Bernays' nephew. It's the fact that people like Paul Vanderklay let Jesus take the wheel in terms of educating people's children, because he's the one who's responsible for giving morality to your children.
All right, that was Jacob, everybody. This is the LARP Gate Year 4 main event, the multi-classing stream, and I'm having fun. I hope you are too.
Remember it. There is no agency. We want
All right, fine. I'll give you a respectful dismount. Any final parting terms, words, Jacob?
Love God and love your fellow man.
That's good enough for me. Thank you very much for your appearance on this LARP Gate Year 4 main event when Google ate the babblefish. The next section of the thing is going to be, my stuff. I hope you enjoy this. Well, it's coming up soon.
I listen to him. I think he is telling us the truth. That is indeed what he wants. Those of you who are sort of sniffing for duplicity or grift or dishonesty, I don't smell any of that here. I think he's telling us. I see this guy. I see both of these guys, but I see this guy as being very, very genuine and honest. He is telling us exactly what he thinks.
All right. Now, the last bit is just this, really. It's that Grok doesn't think I exist, and so in part of my strategy, I thought the move to make, really, would be to get this guy, this Larry D. Fink, on the stream. If Theo Von gets to do President Trump, then Griz should get to do Larry Fink, right? And because I don't know if you know who Larry Fink is, but apparently, from one of my search results, there's this big company called BlackRock that people like to say, oh, they're doing things like buying up houses and turning them into apartments and then taking government money to house immigrants there. And anyway, there's this company called BlackRock that does things. And it turns at the top of it is a guy named Fink. And I don't know how that happened in this reality. And much like the way I think that the Bernays nugget should wake you up from Netflix, merrily, row your boat. If there's a big force of evil in your reality, and they tell you that at the top of it is a Fink, life is clearly a dream.
In all our searching, the only thing we've found that makes the emptiness bearable is each other.
And as Jacob said, it exists in the mind of God. So that's loving awareness. We can relax a bit. Oh, no, that's unacceptable. Slicarius is promoting false information in the hive mind. It doesn't make you sad-faced to go to the replay. It makes you joyous because when you comment there, instead of when you do it in the hive mind like this, you only get a +2 to the next stream savings throws. But when you do it on the replay in the comment, it's +5. +5s.
Oh shoot, where was I going with this? Attention.